Welcome back to a late night episode of Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Neil Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? You know what we could talk about today? It was actually an interesting conversation, which another one of my friends, she brought up yesterday, but she also brought it up to me, I think it was on the weekend, I can't remember specifically. And I don't remember, but timings are not important, like, you don't care about that. But basically, if you don't know, like, one of the only YouTubers I tend to watch, that's not true, but one of the only YouTubers I tend to watch on, like, a large scale, as in, like, try and catch most of her content, is Northern9, and, well, I guess we'll get onto it in a bit. Good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:05pm on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. I just need to check, do I actually have a video going up tomorrow? Like, have I recorded one? Because I did not have much time to record one today. 762 video subscribers, doing pretty well. Okay, so yes, well, we have it sorted for the rest of this week, which is nice, which is very nice, don't get me wrong. Yeah, but so Northern9 is like one of the only YouTubers I watch, and he's probably the YouTuber content creator I watch the most of. And part of the reason is because, I mean, you can tell if you watch, like, some of my videos, it's the type of video content I like to consume. It's not necessarily, the bombastic, I don't want to say, like, clickbaity type, because nowadays there's a lot of things which have, like, clickbaity thumbnails just to appease the algorithm, but also have, like, really good content at the same time. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, Mark Robert's a really good example. Like, he has a very sort of, like, flashy thumbnail in that sort of sense, like most people do, but the content is still really good nonetheless. But that's not the type of videos that I want to watch, like, on a long scale. Like, the long scale videos I tend to want to watch, things like Northern9 are just, like, idle chatter going on in the background. Things to watch while doing something else, sort of like background noise, like the radio on in the background. And it helps that Northern9 is very good at, communicating. He's very verbose in a good way, I would say. He's very comedic, of course, in his own right, don't get me wrong. But he's someone who knows how to keep the conversation going, I suppose. So which is why, I started I started watching him because apparently he was, like, a good YouTuber to watch to learn how to play Binding of Isaac, which is the funniest things, and I just, like, stuck by that ever since. A lot of my friends actually end up watching him, to be honest, not because of me, and then, like, another one of my friends, he was watching Northern9 independently, and so was another one of friend, and that sort of thing. And nowadays, it's sort of like getting more and more people on board with it, and the most recent one being this other friend who she started watching, and she raised a comment about the fact that, like, a lot of his speech, I suppose, is sort of, like, pervaded into our friendship circles, like the way that a lot of people in our friend group speak. And I'm definitely not going to, like, go against that. Like, obviously the way you speak is very much influenced by the people, like, around you, the things you hear. Like, not only is my speech influenced by the things I consume in that sense, it's influenced by my friends as well, of course. By myself, I would never go, like, yo, or anything like that, but one of my friends, he goes yo all the time, so I go yo as well. So it was like, I wouldn't say to mimic, because mimic's got more, like, negative connotations maybe than it should do, but it's more like to echo him, I suppose, in that sense. So I start going, like, yo as well. I feel like it's a nice way to sort of tie it all up. And definitely there's some things that, like, I've stolen, I suppose, from Northern9, sort of like vocabulary. I'm not sure if vocabulary is the right word, but, like, but there's another word I want to say, but I can't think of what it is. But some things I think are just natural. Like, certainly I think me and Northern9 have a similar way of speaking, where it tends to be quite not too much slang, but tends to be quite verbose in that sort of sense, There was a funny comment about ages ago about the same friend, actually. She like said the word subterfuge or something in a sentence, and my other friends just sort of like laughed, being like, subterfuge, why would you use that word? And then I comment, and, like, they were telling me that story, like, she was telling me that story, being like, you know what subterfuge means? And I was like, yeah, kind of. It's like, it's sort of like to get ahead by, like, deception or lying or something along those lines, but I don't know the exact definition. I got sort of like a inclination of what the definition is. And then she told me that story, and I was like, I'm pretty sure if I would say that, my friends wouldn't laugh. Laugh not as in, like, a mocking way, but in, like, a jokey sort of way, like the sort of way that friends rip each other. Like, it's important to give that context because, of course, I'm giving it to you without any robbed of any context whatsoever. So then you might draw the wrong conclusions about my friends as if we're like not friends or something. Happens a lot on the internet, you know. Sorry, it's a bit tangential thing, but you'll often see like gifs of like friends hanging out and like ribbing each other and like being silly with each other, and then you see the most insane comments about like, if someone were to do that to me, I would like instantly cut off all contact with them. And then it's like, okay, you know, fair enough, you might do that, but also you might, you know, understand that friendship, you know, is about building up this sort of like trust and relationship and understanding, you know, each other's boundaries and that sort of thing. And these might be the sort of friends where that's something they're comfortable with, you know. But there's a lot of assumptions you can make about a video, about like a snapshot of someone's life, but not really any of which you should make in the first place. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, I think me and Norman and I both talk in, like, I tend to talk a very sort of flowery language. Like, I fully admit that. I talk, like, over the top. No, it's not, like, an intentional thing. I just sort of do it. Because, I don't know, I guess it feels right in that sort of sense. I hesitate to say that I, like, speak formally, because I don't think it's, like, I speak that formally. I think I just sort of speak a bit more, like, whimsically. I'm not sure if whimsically is the right word, but like, you know, I speak like a fantasy character or something rather than someone who's actually living in the real world, and to a mild extent, not to an extreme extent. You're not going to like see me plonk down in the middle of like the Forgotten Realms or anything like that. But I feel like people are used to it, and Norman certainly has quite a way with words. He's certainly a much better orator than I am. His thoughts are certainly a lot more coherent, and I feel like his use of language is a lot better than mine. But it's along those similar sort of lines. I mean, that's one I don't think it's necessarily I like took from Northern Line. It's more that I consumed his media because it aligned. You know, you tend to consume things not in a literal sense, in a metaphorical sense. It's not even metaphorical, in a ingesting or media sense. I don't think it's necessarily you would ingest things which are like you, but it's more like you ingest things of which reflect what you want to be like, or things you idolize in that sort of sense. In that sense, I like to speak like this, so I'm just like, okay, of course I'd watch Norman 9, you know, who speaks like that in the first place. I think that's kind of like the reliancy, I suppose, of his the dependency, I suppose, goes this way around rather than the other way around. But some things I definitely steal from Norman 9. One thing I definitely know I steal from him is the fact that he goes like based or stuff like that, and I like saying that as well in a sort of jokey way. I don't know, I feel like most of the things I take from him are his much more jokey side of things, you know, because I think I certainly give off a much more serious impression, I think, in real life. Like, I've ever told a story about one of my friends, like one of my uni friends, the first time like she met me, and I invited her to like meet the rest of my like secondary school friends, my high school friends. She wasn't like that worried, but she was a little bit worried to me, like, whoa, everyone's going to be a bit like Dear Darling, everyone's going to be like so formal and like proper in a sense, while I'm here like an abs. She's not like a lunatic, but you know, she's got a little bit of gremlin energy, shall we say. And then she met them and she was just like, okay, everyone's absolutely lunatics, it turns out. So I love that story because it's very, very funny and honestly very true. It's like you get those memes of like groups of people and then there's like one singular brain cell, you know, and I'd like to nominate myself as holding that brain cell in certain groups. It depends on which circles or groups you draw, and sometimes I like to chuck it away with reckless abandon because it's kind of funny that way. So yeah, a lot of the things I sort of like steal off Norman and I like mimic him in that sense tend to be things that I find funny, obviously, you know, or things I think other people would find funny, because I mean that's kind of like what you do when you I don't know, I'm explaining to you as if you've never like had a friendship or something before, which I mean, to be fair, maybe you haven't, in which case let me enlighten it for you, but you probably have. And you know, if you haven't, then nothing to feel bad about, I would say. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, like you're always trying to, like, when you're a group of people, you're just like trying to entertain each other. You're trying to like say something funny to make, you know, get a laugh. You know, you're trying to generally improve the mood of everyone there, right? Like everyone's sort of like symbiotically working together, being like, let's all drive together. Let's all like do these comedic. Oh, bits is another thing. Like we'll do these comedic bits and skits. Like obviously you're saying it as a joke. I'm going to play into a bit as well to make it funnier. That sort of thing. calling these things sort of like bits is definitely something I stole from Northern Ireland as well. Bits, you just mean like a comedy skit, I suppose, or like a rehearsed routine in that sort of sense, which obviously these things aren't rehearsed, they're much more improvised when you're just chilling out with friends. But I think the way I put it is like Northern Ireland has a very rich vocabulary, so he often defines things in a way which is very useful to use in your own vocabulary. So, things like bits, be like, oh, it's like I would always refer to it as jokes, but like jokes is not like the right framing. It doesn't have the right connotation to it, but calling them bits feels like it makes more sense. I don't know what other things I've necessarily stolen from him, but I think it's harder for you personally to identify that than someone else to point it out for you. But even then, it's quite difficult to point out, like, at least on me, like I feel like I certainly operate off vibes a lot more than I operate off like minutiae of things, at least when it comes to something like this. I don't think it's necessarily always true now I think about it, but okay, we talk to people, grow fruit tree, group stretches. Okay, I was just gonna see if we need to do the rock one. But another one of my friends, he's one who's been watching Northern Ireland for a long time as well. And my other friend, she commented on the fact that he goes like, "What are you talking about?" Like a decent amount, and he was like sort of vehemently against it, being like, I can't imagine myself saying it. He does, by the way. He doesn't say it all the time. Like, it's not like he's going like every single second, like, "What are you talking about?" But definitely when he's like annoyed or like jokey annoyed, he will definitely say that. He'd be like, "What are you talking about?" At least I can very much hear it in his voice. I mean, it just sort of like is enlightening in that sense. Like, obviously your perception of yourself is very different from other people's perceptions of you, rightfully so, because you're kind of privy to all your inner thoughts, or the inner machinations of whatever's going on in your wondrous mind, while other people only have a presentation of yourself to draw any conclusions from, really. Just relaxing with a nice bowl of soup or something. So of course your interpretation of yourself is going to be different. Especially more so if you play up things like from a much more comedic angle, I suppose, when you're hanging out with friends. People don't necessarily act exactly as themselves, I suppose, with a group of people, which okay, maybe I should rephrase that. There's multiple different sides to you, right? And the side that you present to other people is obviously a different side of you compared, I'm sorry, Apollo, to the side which you have with your own inner thoughts. I don't think anyone's really like exempt from this. I mean, I'm sure some people are, but they're very much the exception rather than the rule. Like I myself am no exception. Obviously, with my friends, I will tend to be a bit more it's a thing I think about as well, because people say this about like streamers, like a lot. I'm not saying about me, because like, I mean, I'm not like really a streamer, and also I don't care. I know who I am. Being like, they have like a fake persona like on camera, or they're saying like there's Taskmaster. I think about it because there's this comedian, Lucy, I don't know her surname, Beaumont or something, in the most recent version, and people were just like, is she just like doing a bit or something? Like, there's no way she's just like dense and airheaded or something. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's kind of a point. I don't really care if she is like that airheaded or in real life. Like, I understand the argument that it's coming, like, if you're framing it from a sense of like, this is a genuine reflection, I suppose, of yourself, but also, people tend to act very differently like on camera than like off camera, Of course, like, if I imagine myself on Taskmaster, that sort of thing, I'm not just going to sit there and be like my very calm, like, measured self. I'm going to be much more lively. I'm going to be a lot more silly. I'm going to like fully lean into the whimsical, wondrous things on my mind, because it's more fun. It's more entertaining that way. The same way, like, when you're at a party, you're on a totally different vibe compared to like when you're just like sitting at home reading a book. They're all you. They're all parts of you. They're all the same reflection of the same person. So to say one is fake or one isn't you is, I feel like, a very misrepresentative falsehood. It's sort of coming at the thing at the wrong angle, rather than understanding that's all part of you. I guess it's a sort of desire to have like genuinity. Is that how you make that a noun? To have like a sense of realness, right? Like, especially with streaming, it's like, you see the real side of these people, or X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, it can't be like, it's not so much real side as as part of their real side. It's not like we're not going to show you like themselves as the most vulnerable or anything like that. And at the end of the day, they're still streaming. They're still like on camera. They're still going to people tend to be more performative when a camera's pointed at them. Not all people, mind you. But the people who are not more performative probably don't go into the entertainment industry, is what I'd wager. yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this. Anyway, so these sort of mannerisms picked up from Northern Iron. I don't know what else I've necessarily picked up from him. I'm certain those things have, but you are Ricky. Yes. I'm certain that there are more things, I'm sure, but I've also been watching him for a long time, so it's probably a little bit harder to sort of differentiate between what has been naturally developed as my own and something which has been big borrowed or stolen from. But I mean, you do it with friends all the time, which I suppose, you know, if you say you just do it from friends all the time, that sort of leans into a parasocial nature of, I suppose, for you streaming things and YouTubers, myself included, these content creators. A friendly reminder about streamers, you know, content creators are not your friends. They are much better to think of them as jesters. They are there to entertain. That's basically as far as the connection goes. Myself included, mind you. Myself included. I will, of course, of course, I will, and the other people, you know, video contents will probably be friendly with you, but, you know, it's a very much a one-sided thing. Depending on how much content you consume, I suppose. Yeah, well, I suppose in most cases, you know, my friends sometimes do watch my videos here and there, so it's, I suppose, misrepresentative to say parasocial in that sense. I'm not going to call my actual friend you're parasocial. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, what was I going to say? I don't know. What other things does Northern Iron say, which I very much have stolen from him? Hey, everybody. No, I don't say that. There's probably, like, certain word choices, which is, like, yeah, definitely taken from him. But also, maybe, like, I don't use them as much now, I suppose, because when I'm recording my own videos, I'm like, very much in my own Dear Darling mode, I suppose, rather than necessarily Dear Darling after being influenced by Northern Iron chilling with her friends mode, you know? It's different. Yeah, it's very difficult to sort of identify these things, just like have a drop of a hat. the only thing I can really think of is the based. I like saying, because I don't know, based is kind of funny. I like it as a word, like based. It's a bit sort of old hat now, I think, when it comes to actual phrases that people use. Send it. I say that, you know, a decent amount when we're like playing games or something like that. I'll just be like, send it. I think he sent something like that. Let's go? I don't know if I say let's go that often. Another one of my friends, he says let's go all the time. I don't know if anyone's called him out of it. But at the end of the day, who really cares? I mean, you might be sitting there being like, oh, you're saying it with like a veneer of, again, a lack of authenticity. That's the word I wanted, authenticity, not genuinity. Authenticity, because it's like you're sacrificing your own personality at the cost of, you know, mirroring someone else's. But also, I'm like, who cares? All our personalities are made up, I suppose, of as a smorgasbord of other people that you've probably found cool in your life, or, you know, or liked or been friendly with. People, you know, we're humans, we're social creatures. We all influence each other in like wild, wacky and wonderful ways. That's just the way life goes. And to say that, you know, to say it with like a veneer of that it's insincere, I suppose, because of that, I feel like is grossly misrepresenting, I suppose, the social nature of humans and dynamics in the first place, right? We mirror because it is a social thing to do. It's like a sign of trust and friendship in that sense. So taking things from things you like or things you admire is like, that's just kind of how it goes, you know? That should be, it is the norm. And to treat it not as such, I think, is doing yourself, and humanity itself, I suppose, a great disservice. Okay, maybe not a great disservice, maybe like a very mildly inconvenient disservice at best. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll round this episode up here. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about, but nothing comes to mind. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.